Hello, and welcome back to Something Starts Ringing Tarot. My name is Ryan, and in this video, I want to show you a couple things I bought recently for my tarot practice. And if you stick around towards the end, I will be showing you maybe my new favorite deck. I got a new deck, and I am so excited to show it to you. So stick around if you want to see that. So this is kind of a tarot update and a haul video and a deck video all wrapped into one. So sit back, relax, and enjoy my new purchases. All right. The first purchase I made was the Ultimate Guide to Tarot. I know this is a very popular book for tarot beginners and for tarot practitioners in general. So far, I've just read the first couple pages, first couple chapters. I've referenced it a little bit. I'm not going to go into too much detail with all this because there are many flip-throughs on TarotTube about this book. But just in general, it's a very colorful, comprehensive list of all the cards and information about tarot in general. One of my favorite things is the table of contents. It has every card listed out, so no matter which one you're going to, you can just go right to that page instead of flipping to the suit or flipping to the queens or something like that. So every card is listed. It's also full color, and for every card there is a full color picture, lots of symbology references, Hebrew letters, meanings, tree of life pathway, chakras, all of that information quickly available, understanding the card, astrology, Kabbalah, upright meaning, reversed meaning, symbols, and then it talks about every symbol in the card. This book is specifically, and it gives a spread for all of the major arcana. So I'm very impressed with this book so far. I've only had it for maybe a week or so. So I'm really looking forward to deep diving into the Rider-Waite-Smith a little more and learning more about that symbology. That's kind of where my focus is for this next quarter of the year or so, is actually getting back to my roots of the Rider-Waite-Smith imagery and artwork and deck. So I wanted to grab this book to help in that study. The next book that I got is called Astrology, Using the Wisdom of the Stars in Your Everyday Life. I saw this book at Barnes & Noble initially, and then I looked up a bunch of reviews and a bunch of astrologers on TarotTube or YouTube. Highly recommended this as well, so I thought this would be a good book to start my study into astrology. I only have a very, very basic knowledge of kind of my sun sign and my big three, and I don't even know what all that means yet. So I started looking through this book, and so far in the first 2 chapters, I'm learning so much. It's amazing how much they know about me in the first couple chapters of this book. So I really, really enjoy it so far. Just some quick introductions. It's very illustrated, but it has like little sections that you can read and little highlighted quotes that are important. It's very colorful, very full of information. It goes through planets, houses, signs, aspects, life events, how to apply how to apply all this information to your chart. It just goes on and on and on. So there's a ton of information in this, and I'm really looking forward to starting my study into astrology as well. The next purchase I made is a little fun one. This is my first tarot bag, actually. So this is a little pouch bag. It has a black inside and this blue outside, and then this rainbow wrap goes around it. It's just really simple, really easy, but it's very high quality, and it fits, I believe, every tarot deck that I have so far. I tried specifically the Light Seers Tarot with the guidebook, and it fits perfectly in here. I also tried the Star Tarot, and because that's, I think, my biggest cards that I have for tarot, and that fits in here as well. So I'm very impressed. It's a great bag, and I got it off of Etsy on a shop called JuliusHandmadeCrafts, I believe. I'll link the Etsy shop down below. So go show them some support. I highly recommend their bags. It's the perfect size for tarot. It really fits the decks nicely, and they were very responsive when I asked a question about what decks kind of would fit in the bags, because I wanted to make sure that my decks would fit and specific ones. So they specifically told me that the Light Seers and the guidebook would fit in, and it does perfectly. So they were very responsive to my questions before I made the purchase. So I highly recommend them. I think right now during this Easter time, they're on a little shop break. But after that, you can go to their site and look through all of their bags. All right, the last thing that I bought, and probably the most important and the one you've been waiting for, is a new tarot deck. This might be my new favorite deck in just the couple days that I've looked through it. It is the 1909 RWS Tarot, the Sawyer Redux edition. I first heard of this deck on Beneficial Tarot's YouTube channel just a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago now. I think he mentioned it in one of his lives, and then he also did a walkthrough on it. So I first saw it on his channel, and I'll have his channel linked down below. But this deck is so impressive to me. I'll get into a few of the cards that I want to show, but I'm probably going to do a deep dive video on this as well, because every card is so intentionally made and so intentionally connects. It's beautiful. So Jamie Sawyer has done many other decks. I will link their shop in the description, as well as a link to this deck specifically. But I just wanted to show a few cards and a few comparisons to the original Rider-Waite-Smith, because this is I don't want to say clone, but it's like a redrawing of the original Rider-Waite-Smith artwork, Pamela Coleman Smith's artwork, but done in a slightly different way that makes it kind of up to that next level of tarot reading. So I'll kind of talk about that as I go through it. So I'm going to go through a couple cards here, and then if you want, I can do a direct comparison video, or I can do a full deep dive or flip through. So let me know in the comments below what you would prefer as far as that. So I just want to compare here. This is the Fool card, obviously, so I hope you can see these pretty well. But as you can see, it's basically a redrawing of the exact artwork. And what makes this so impressive to me, there's many things. First, I want to point out that the colors are almost identical. They're muted or they're shaded to make it look a little more realistic or more 3D, more high definition, I guess. But the colors are almost identical. And so that's really important to me when you're redoing the Rider-Waite-Smith, especially using very similar artwork, that the colors match, because to me those have very significant meanings that go throughout the deck. And one thing I noticed is that, like, if you have this bright yellow on the original, it's this yellow on the new Redux edition, the Sawyer Redux edition. And that's consistent throughout the whole deck. So the color yellow is consistent, and the color green or the color black or the color red is consistent throughout the deck. It's not like shades of red, shades of blue, shades of whatever. If it's supposed to be this yellow, it is this yellow on the new deck, which is very cool because the cards still connect in the way the original artwork did. The next thing I want to point out is that Jamie Sawyer, I'll link her walkthrough as well in the description. She explains her deck, obviously. But another thing she pointed out is that she was a tattoo artist, or is a tattoo artist. So a lot of times they have to, quote, clean up the artwork for a tattoo and make it a little more legible, or just kind of redraw it slightly so you can see in that. So that's what she did with this artwork. She took the like heavy lines, the somewhat confusing patterns, and redrew it to clean it up, but still honoring the intention of that artwork and the exact patterns. So I don't know if you can see this very well, but she kind of cleaned up the lines, she cleaned up the colors a little bit on the mountains, on the cliff here, on the dog. She just kind of made it a little more legible, but didn't really change anything. So you can even see on this Fool card that the number of peaks on the mountain and the way it's overlapped in the background is exactly the same. So you can read into that if that's important to you in the card. It's exactly the same here. You can see that the lines are still on the cliff just like the lines here. You can see that the fool's coat has the same placement and same number of design, like artwork or fruit or whatever that is, flowers on the garment. The colors all match, like I mentioned. On the bag, you can see the cleanup. This is hard to tell that it's an eagle head on the bag, but on here it's very clear because she just slightly changed the coloration and the line work is much more detailed, so you can see it. So I really, really like that. The next thing I want to point out that she did is she kept the size of the image. I don't know if you can tell this very well from here, but I'll probably do a deep dive walkthrough to go through this as well. But she kept the size of the characters and the image the same as the original, but it's without borders now. So she basically expanded the image to include more than what is originally shown. So she didn't zoom in, she didn't just cut the image down and make it bigger. She just added that extra little to all of the edges of the card. So on here you see just slightly more of the mountain over here. On the sun you see slightly more of the sun. You see the actual end of the wand, or the end of this pole over here, and right here it's like just barely cut off. So you see just slightly more on all of the edges of the image, and then down here she doesn't have a title, so you see more of the mountain. But she didn't just expand the image to fit the card, she took off what's hiding. She like showed what's hiding around the borders, which is very interesting to me. And lastly, what I want to point out on this card, as you probably already noticed, is that they don't have numbers or titles on any of the cards. I'll get into that a little bit more later, but that's just what I wanted to point it out first. So as you can tell, there is a lot going on in this deck, even if it's a redraw of the artwork. The next card I wanted to show is the Lover's card. So this really stands out to me because, as you can probably clearly tell, she did decide to change the skin tone and some of the features on the human figures in this deck. So as you can see, these people represent more diversity than is in the original RWS coloration. Obviously these people are all like tan Caucasian people, but on here they have a black person and a different color skin, I guess, kind of a between or mixed race skin tone, I guess, however you want to perceive that. So that's important in this deck. And she also mentioned in her video that she didn't just change the color of the skin, she also tweaked some of the features to make them more culturally or racially appropriate. So it's not just kind of make the person black, it's make them look, I don't know how to say this correctly, look African or look more appropriate to have that skin tone. So it's not just a change of color, it's a little change of features as well. It's not super crazy, it's not, I don't see it as a problem or like racist or anything or like stereotypical. It's just you might notice, okay, that person looks Asian or looks of a different race because of kind of the facial features or the way that they look. I don't know, that's hard to say, but she kind of tried to do that in a thoughtful and intentional manner instead of just changing the skin tone on the original artwork. I also wanted to show this card because you can see that all of the colors that were in the original transfer over to the new one, like I kind of mentioned before. So even in the clouds where you have the red kind of outline or shimmer or whatever you want to call it, she added this like red or pinkish tone onto some of the areas in this cloud. The red or purplish mountain, the greens, the purple coat. The purple coat has the same folds, the wings, the hair has the same colors, the flames, the green and the red. So it's a very good redrawing, very good use of the same colors, just done in a slightly more high def or realistic way, I guess. next card I wanted to show that kind of points out another thing about this deck is the Five of Wands. I'll show it close up there. Hopefully it focuses on that. All right, so the next thing I wanted to show is that on every card in the entire deck, you can see that the backgrounds aren't completely solid like the original, but instead she has created a unique mandala artwork on the back of each card, or on the background, or kind of overlaid on every card. So specifically on this Five of Wands, you can see that there is a small Roman numeral 5, which I think is brilliant. So she doesn't have it at the top, but if you look hard enough at the artwork, she has the number of the card. So that even appears on the lovers as well. So down here, there's a Roman numeral 6 in the background in the mandala. Here, there's a 5. So I really like how she kind of hid the number in it if you need to see that number in the card. So it's still there, but it's just not blatantly at the top of the card. Another thing about the mandalas is that they also have the astrological correspondence. Like I said earlier, I don't have a lot of familiarity with astrological correspondences yet because I'm just starting my study in astrology, but there is the sign correspondence on every card, majors and minors. So this one, it shows, I don't know if you can see this, but it shows a little Leo symbol. I don't know if that's exactly right for this card, but that is what she has corresponded. I'm not sure where she particularly got her information, or if there's different systems or how that all works yet, but she does have an astrological correspondence on each card. And I believe on all of the minor pips, she also has the planet association. I have to look into that a little further. I'm not sure on all those symbols yet, but this one definitely has 3 symbols in the mandala. So it has the number of the card, the astrological sign, and the planet correlation. So I really, really like that as well. So this deck is like combining my new study of the RWS with the Ultimate Guide to Tarot. So that has all of that information. And this also has the astrological and planetary correspondences. So I'm going to compare a little bit on the cards and the book. And then it also combines my astrology book with the signs and the planets. So this combination of purchases, I just feel like melded perfectly, and I'm kind of so excited to get going on it. Another card that I wanted to show, this is the Page of Wands. I'll switch it back so I'm consistent. So this shows the skin tone change. So this person is clearly more black than the original, which is great. It's just showing more people and more diversity in the deck, as many people are trying to do now, and it's important to do. But on the court cards, I wanted to point out another thing about this deck that's interesting is that the court cards have a suit element and a court card element. So as you know, the wands are typically associated with fire, but then the page has another elemental correspondence. So on this one, it says the page is the earth of water. So it has both of those elemental symbols in the mandala in the background. I hope you can see it. Yeah, let me double check that. Yeah. So what I did notice is that those elements, earth of fire. Yeah. So the knight and the king are switched from what this book talks about. So I'm going to have to look into that a little more. So in this deck, the knight is the air and the king is the fire. I gotta get this right. I'm just getting used to this. So the page is the earth, the knight is the air, the queen is the water, and the king is the fire of that specific suit. So if that's important to you or if that correspondence means anything to you, I'm not there yet, but I just wanted to point that out, that it is switched a little bit from what it says in this book for the Knight and the King. All right, there's more to go. I'm so excited about this deck. All right, this is the Three of Cups. Oh, I'm going to be consistent. This is the Three of Cups. And why I wanted to point out this card is that this is pretty much the only card in the entire deck that the colors don't quite match. So everything on the card is identical. Red, red, gray, gray, like greenish, yellow, orange, orange, blue, blue. Everything matches, except for this person's garment. This is clearly the bright garish yellow in the original, and here it's like a brownish tan. This yellow doesn't match the rest of the yellow in the deck. So I'm curious why she did that, but I just wanted to point out if that's important to you on the Three of Cups for some reason. I just wanted to point out that that is like one of the only major color differences that I found. Obviously there's still three different colors, which is important, but it's not that yellow, red, gray. It's more of a brown, red, gray. All right, so this is the Seven of Swords. I'm just showing a couple from each suit. So again, we have the mandala in the background. We have the 7 right there. This is, oh, I'm not good at my astrology yet. This is my little test of what I know. I'm not sure. It has the astrological symbol, and then it has the moon as well. So the planet symbol, or the planetary being symbol, I guess. Another thing I wanted to point out on this card is that, like I mentioned before, all the colors match. So on the tents back here, you can see this one's green with a little wiggle and a red circle. This has green with a wiggle and a red circle. And the red opening on the inside is the same as the red opening on this side. The blue squiggles, the black and white check marks, the blue inside, it all matches perfectly, which is amazing to me. So I just wanted to point that out too. And this is another kind of example of where you can see just a little bit more of this tent because of the extra image. And you can see a little bit more past these people in the background over here. So I just really like that. And lastly, from the Pentacles, I wanted to show the King. This is a great example of cleaning up the image that she mentioned to make it a little more legible. So obviously there's a lot of greenery, there's a lot of plant life, there's a lot of things going on with his knight's boot, his armor boot, the rams on the chair, the castle in the background, everything he's holding, his garments are complicated, and over here it's just so much more legible, but everything is the same. The same colors, the same symbols, the same drawing. It's just cleaned up and you can read it a lot better. So you can see the laurel crown, you can see the roses or the flowers on his crown. You can see the plant life coming off like the neck area of these rams. You can see the branches over here that are the same as the branches over here. You can see the grapes on the dress stand out. I mean, down to like the same number of flowers down here in the corner. It's just so impressive to me. It's just, I've studied this deck, and that's kind of how I got into tarot, and everybody knows these images. But when I looked at this card, or some of these cards, I noticed so much more about the image that I never knew was in there, just because of it being cleaned up. It's the same artwork, it's almost the same lines, and it's just amazing to me. So again, this is the 1909 RWS Tarot, the Sawyer Redux edition. So I'll have it all linked in the description. So I'm so excited to get into that. Let me know again if you want a full walkthrough or a direct comparison card on card with the Rider Tarot deck. That's the one I was using, is the Rider Tarot deck from the original Rider-Waite-Smith Pamela Coleman artwork. So that's it. That's going to be my new kind of study in tarot and my new purchases that I made, and I'm excited to share them with you. So just to review, I got the Ultimate Guide to Tarot, Astrology, Using the Wisdom of the Stars in Your Everyday Life. Oh, I dropped it. This tarot bag from Julius Handmade Gifts, and the 1909 Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot, the Sawyer Redux edition. All of these will be linked in the description. I'm not sponsored, I'm not affiliated. I just want you to find these if you want to look into them. So thank you for watching. I will see you next time. Until next time, this is life. This is what I'm talking about. This is life. You manage to be happy for 5 seconds and something starts ringing.